And with that, I will turn the time over to you, Marty.
Okay. Hi everybody. Oops, there I am. Okay, good. I froze for a second. Hi everybody. It's great to see you. I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to get right into the information because that's why we're all here. So let me do that. Okay. Um, there we go. Okay. So, first to tell you, I also work with Plant Powered Metro New York, and Plant Powered Metro New York is an organization. We are looking to work with organizations as opposed to retail politics of working person to person, because we would like to help teach communities and we would like to teach organizations how to bring in more plant foods into a diet. So that's what we basically are working in Metro New York, but we realize that we are expanding across the country. So we may be rethinking our mission to include something more national. So I'm excited to be working with them and to be working on curriculum with them. So what are we going to do today? Well, we're going to look a little bit on how plant-based nutrition increases positive health outcomes. Then we're going to talk about like, what is this plant-based stuff? And then we'll do a quickie dessert and I'll do a Q&A. And we actually have a couple of next steps that you guys could take if you find all of this interesting. So let's start with, oh, wait a minute, is my video isn't on. Isn't that interesting? Okay. So, and I talk with my hands all the time. So we're going to talk about how whole food plant-based nutrition prevents and can reverse disease, which we didn't say that at the beginning of my life. Let me do this, guys. Okay, here we go. FYI, oh, okay. We know this is the leading causes of death in the US. And as you can see, all types of cancer are listed as a number 2 in leading causes of death. So there's a lot of research about a lot of different stuff out there. And I thought, well, let me kind of give myself a little lit review to figure out what does the latest research say. So I actually found this really wonderful literature review, and we're going to be looking at some slides. And in the slides, you'll see things that says MM, that means multiple myeloma, and then monoclonal gammopathy of undetermined significance with MGUS. Okay, you guys might be more familiar with these terms than I am off the top of my head, but I just wanted to give you a little heads up on that's what's going to be on the slides. So I'm a dietitian and I work in lifestyle. I'm working with people. I have had my own private practice for many years, and we dietitians, we're working kind of one-on-one with folks. So I wanted to know what are the lifestyle factors, because that's what interests me. What can I do to help myself? Because I want to take control. That's the kind of person I am. So what I found when I was looking at this lit review was that obesity, diet, vitamin D levels, and the gut microbiota alterations have been identified as lifestyle factors affecting MM and MGUS risk. So that means that these different things are either increasing or decreasing risk. And I thought, okay, so I want to know more about that. And one of the things that we see is that nutrition and body weight, that was one of the biggest things I saw, was nutrition and body weight have been shown to affect disease outcomes and treatments. And also MM patients tend to have a deficiency in vitamin D, vitamin B12, and folate. And actually these deficiencies can worsen with disease prognosis.
Marty, I apologize. It looks like your camera's off again.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the deal is with that.
If it doesn't come back on and goes off, we'll just leave it as it is. But I just wanted to let you know.
Yeah, I know, because I was looking at that and it seems like I come up over here and then I can't move my slides.
Okay,
So,
we may
yeah,
just go without. Thank you.
We'll just make it work. Oh, look, I got him to move. Yay me. Okay, yeah, because I mean, I'm very expressive. So what I'm gonna, so the first thing I was noticing was overweight. And then as weight increased out of a healthy range, the risk of MGUS transforming into MM also increased. So a high body mass index. Now, high body mass index is your height versus your width, your height versus your weight. It is not the end all be all, but because I've done a lot of research, I can tell you it's nice to have a number you can kind of start with and go, hey, you know what? Like, let's just see what these numbers say at the very beginning. But as we saw the BMI, that's what's called body mass index, rise, it was linked to an increased death in multiple myeloma. Now, this is a big, goofy slide, and I don't want you to get a bent out of shape out of it looking like, oh my God, I got to know what's in this. The only thing I wanted you to really see about this slide, and you can take a look at it later, and you can think about stuff, and you can decide what's there and a little bit closer. But this was done, a study that was done with veterans. And what I want you to look at is as their weight went up, and you see that little box that I have around, it's on the left-hand side. I teach research at the moment. And so HR in that box means hazard ratio. And what that means is one means like, the chances of you getting it are just like anybody walking down the street. You may or may not, we're not sure. And that's what we had at people at normal weight. As the weight went up and became overweight, that hazard ratio went to 1.55. Now, what the heck does 1.55 mean? That means that it is a 55% rise in risk, which is pretty significant. If you got to obese, the development of multiple myeloma from MGUS was 98%. So we can see that weight is really, really important. So we really want to think about, okay, and I don't worry about people's weights until their biomarkers change. And that is a biomarker. So to me, that says, okay, well, now I think I need to do something about this. And, what can I do? Well, this is another thing we saw. Another lifestyle factor was the gut microbiota. I could just spend an hour talking about the gut microbiota. But it has been associated with disease progression and response to treatment. And I'm going to tell you and show you what the gut microbiota is in a second. The health of the diet decreased or increased the risk of MGUS becoming multiple myeloma. And this is a study that I was looking at. And what it says is there's a healthy diet score. It was developed in the University of South Carolina. So we have people fill out like, what do you eat? Okay, and then we score it. It's not very hard. As people had a healthier diet, they decreased the risk of MGS becoming multiple myeloma by 15 to 24%. As the unhealthy diet score went up, as it became unhealthier, the risk for MGUS becoming multiple myeloma also went up 16 to 24%. So that's a significant amount. So we're looking and thinking, okay, so what we need to do is to help people figure out what are the foods they need to eat. The type of diet influences microbiota. A lot of people, when they want to lose weight, they go on a high protein diet. They're like, oh, this is going to be great. Well, this is what happens. You can lose weight from it. That's true. But a few things happen to you. And one of them that I find is really important, the first thing that you lose on a high protein diet is you lose weight, you lose water, and you lose lean body mass. And lean body mass is really important so that when you get older, you will be able to be balanced. And, it's the most important thing you can do as you age, or as you're looking at being a little bit more frail or a little bit more, your bones are not as strong, is that you want to make sure that you have lean body mass, lean muscle mass. So the high protein diet has this stuff called NH3. Okay, that's ammonia. That's why your urine smells like ammonia. And when you're having a high protein diet, you have a whole lot more of this urea running around, and your body has to filter it out. And so now, if you have a immune system that's compromised, it is even more compromised because now you're really stressing out your kidneys. One of the things we found was that you could have sustained minimal residual disease, that's MRD, as seen in MM patients on this specific maintenance. So we're looking at how can we have more of this minimal residual disease, because we found that patients that had a sustained MRD, they had a negativity, which I know that can sound bad, but that's actually good. That is a measure of prolonged disease remission. And as people had a better diet, and as they brought in more plant foods, they had an increased alpha diversity. Now, what the heck is alpha diversity? What it means is that you had more different types of bacteria going on in your microbiota. Now, is that a good thing? Yes, it is. Because that says that you have a healthy microbiota. Now, what is your microbiota? Well, you have bacteria that goes all the way from your mouth to the other end. And the most amount of it lives in your colon. And it does all kinds of things. I'm going to show you in a second what it does. But you really want to have a lot of diverse type of bacteria, because when you have diverse bacteria, it really strengthens your immune system along with a whole bunch of other systems in your body. And you get it by high fiber intake. And we're going to talk about that in a second. So you want to have more gut microbiota going on. In fact, you have more bacteria in you than you have cells of you. And so there's actually more not you than you in your alimentary canal, your intestines, and all the way through your alimentary canal, which is your intestinal tract, your entire digestive system. So the reason I want you to look at this is not because I want to have everything confusing here, but I want you to just look at, on the right-hand side, I want you to look at the green box and the red box. So what happened in this study, because they were trying to find out what happens to microbiota with different foods, is there were African Americans and rural Africans. And so they found out what these folks ate. And for 2 weeks, the rural Africans ate what the African Americans ate, and the African Americans ate what the Africans ate, the rural Africans ate. And they thought, what's going to happen with their microbiota? Because they eat very different foods. The Africans tend to eat a lot more fiber. They eat less animal products, less processed food. So it was like, okay, let's see what happens. And what they found was, now if you look on the right-hand side, you'll see this little word says butyrate in that green box. Don't worry about it. There's no test. What I want you to notice is that red line started going down. And the red line was what is happening to the gut microbiota of the rural Africans. It begins to die off, and it becomes less and less and less as the week continues. Now, on the little chart right next to it, where you see the green line, the African Americans, as they're eating a rural African diet, their gut biota starts going up and up and up. And so actually at the end of 2 weeks, the rural Africans that were really excited at the beginning to be, they could eat barbecue and burgers and stuff like that, actually couldn't wait to get back to their diet because they didn't feel that well. Now, in the middle of the slide is a green box and a red box. And if you look at the green box, it says proliferative cells in the middle. You'll see right in the center where it says lymphocytes, there's some little dots running around, then there's big blobby things. Okay, so that was the gut microbiota of the African Americans. But when you go to the red box, those are the rural Africans. And you see all the little more dots and little things running around. Okay, that's more of the microbiota, the more different types of microbiota. So they had a whole lot more of microbiota going down. What they ate, we specifically saw, started to trash their microbiota. Now you have two brains, okay? You got one in your head and you got one down here. And they connect to each other all the time. They share the same neural system. So feeding the gut healthy foods prevents memory loss. It lowers colon cancer risk. It regulates your heart. We didn't realize it regulates your heart. It influences gene expression. It decreases your risk of dementia. And it makes serotonin, which is your happy hormones. We like that part. It makes you happier. And because a lot of people say, yeah, okay, so you're just showing me stuff by people who like plant foods. No, this is the World Cancer Research Fund International. And what they say is, if you look at this wheel here, is eat a diet rich in whole grains, vegetables, fruits, and beans. That's like numero uno. And then they want you to decrease processed foods, animal products, sweetened drinks, and alcohol consumption. So I'm going to show you this this video. It's with Dr. Dean Ornish. Dr. Dean Ornish just actually published a remarkable study on dementia, but he does a lot of work in lifestyle, but in this lifestyle study that he did, something really interesting happened to the oncogenes, and I want you to hear that.
For the last 36 years, I've directed a series of research studies showing for the first time what a powerful difference changes in diet and lifestyle can make, not only in preventing disease, but actually in treating and often reversing it. Our studies are done in collaboration with the leaders in the field. They're published in the top-tier scientific medical journals. And I think that's important because the whole point of science is to help people sort out what's true and what isn't, and for whom and under what circumstances. And I think in nutrition and lifestyle, there's more crazy things that people say than in perhaps any other field.
And also you've looked with your research studies, you've looked into some particular areas of health and wellness.
Mm-hmm. We were able to show for the first time that heart disease could actually be reversed by changing diet and lifestyle. That instead of getting worse and worse, people could actually get better and better. Within a month, we found that the blood flow to the heart improved and it began to beat more normally. The chest pain went away in most cases. Within a year, even severely blocked arteries became measurably less clogged. And after 5 years, there was even more reversal, more improvement than after one. And I think these findings are giving many people new hope and new choices that they didn't have before. We also found that men with early stage prostate cancer, that we could slow, stop, or even reverse the progression of early stage prostate cancer. It's still the only randomized trial showing that lifestyle changes alone can stop or reverse the progression of men with early stage prostate cancer. And so we looked into some of the mechanisms to help explain that. And we found that over 500 genes were favorably changed in just 3 months. And in fact, turning on the good genes that prevent these conditions and turning off particularly the oncogenes that promote prostate cancer in men, breast cancer in women, colon cancer, and so on. We even found that telomeres, the ends of our chromosomes that control aging, can actually get longer. It's the only intervention, including drugs, that's been found to actually lengthen telomeres. So as our telomeres get longer, our lives get longer. And so in a simple way, we found that the more we look, the more we find to explain why these simple changes are so powerful. You know, we tend to think that advances in medicine need to be a new drug, a new laser, something really high-tech and expensive. And what we've done in our studies is to use these very high-tech, expensive, state-of-the-art scientific measures to prove how powerful and how dynamic these very simple and low-tech and low-cost interventions can be.
Okay, so I'm going to close that and go back to our slides. What we find is that something I'm going to show you in this slide. And that is, this is a really great book called The China Study. If you haven't read it, it's not super gobbledygooky science, but there is some in there. And I just reread it this summer. And the one thing that Dr. Campbell says, and you can read these 8 principles of health and food and health, you'll get these slides later, but the one I want to focus on is nutrition that is truly beneficial for one chronic disease will support health across the board. And that is what we see. When we start actually feeding cells what they need to get better, a lot of them do. So why do we have this problem? Well, this is what Americans eat. It's pretty interesting. And when we look at what Americans eat, we look at processed foods, which is added fats and sugars, and that's 56% of what people eat during the day, according to research. So that's over half, okay? Then we go over, we look at 33%, and those are the animal foods, and all of those have cholesterol in them. So you have high cholesterol, That's where it's coming from. And so we're talking about nearly 90% of what people are eating are things that don't have fiber, aren't feeding the microbiota, and aren't helping, lengthen telomeres and all these other things. And that 11%, that is plant food. And that plant food is fruits, vegetables, nuts and seeds, legumes, and whole grains. 11%. And actually, you can cut that in half because half of that is due to one vegetable, potatoes. So if we think about let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food, then cool, great idea. But what is a whole food plant-based nutrition? Like, what is it? What does it actually mean? Well, when I'm talking about whole foods, we can take apples, right? These nice little happy apples, and we can slice them. Maybe you have a problem with your tooth and you can't bite into it. Okay, cool. And then maybe your friend gives you a boatload of apples and you go, hey, I'm going to make some applesauce. So when I make applesauce, it's basically apples and, cinnamon in it and something like that. And then maybe I use some of the applesauce to make an apple nut bread. So now we've processed it even further. And then maybe my friend actually just makes apple juice, which means I'm taking out all of the fiber. I'm taking everything out except the sugars that live in the apple juice and water. So now I just keep pulling more and more and more out of that actual fruit till I end up with apple gummy bears. And no apple gummy bears were harmed in the making of this presentation. This is the plant-powered plate. So you've seen other different types of plate. Maybe you've seen the My Plate for the United States Department of Agriculture, but ours is grains, legumes, vegetables, fruits. And then the other most important thing that you can do for yourself, water. Now, I'm showing you this, the American Diabetes Association plate, because one of the things that isn't there is they're talking about vegetables as being half of your plate, carbohydrate foods. Actually, all vegetables are carbohydrate foods, but these are starchier foods that they're talking about. And then definitely need protein. We have a place for protein foods, but then we have water. So I really want you to think about the fact that water is so important that lots of different national associations and international associations are just saying, you know what? We're going to lump all these protein types of foods together and these other ones, but we want to include water. So the key principles are, what do you eat? Well, you eat whole plants like nuts and grains and fruits and stuff like that. Things that look like they did when they came out of the ground. And then you want to avoid, we all know that you're on a journey, okay? So, you want to avoid animal products as much as you can. And then you want to avoid the processed foods. If you can't say it, don't eat it. Like, that's kind of how I look at stuff. And then you want to avoid the fats and sugars because they're just not going to help you. Okay. And I think it's, good to stick with stuff that's actually going to try to help you. So it's simple. Here is visually. You want to eat all this stuff and you want to avoid that stuff. And then you want to still eat more of that stuff on the left and avoid some of that stuff on the right. Some of you may be old enough to remember when we used to learn the 4 or 5, there were 7 at one point, food groups, and these are our food groups. So we have whole grains, veggies, whether they're starchy or non-starchy, so starchy would be, broccoli, and non-starchy would be broccoli and tomatoes and cucumbers and stuff like that. Okay, I do realize that cucumber is a fruit. And then there's the starchy ones, which would be sweet potatoes and turnips and rutabaga and squashes and all that stuff. Beans, any kind of beans. Ones that you absolutely have to cook. They'll, hurt your teeth if you take them raw. And then fruits, any kind of fruits, and nuts and seeds. And we want you to have nuts and seeds raw because that's where you get the real good fats that people are looking for that are heart healthy. When we look at nuts and seeds, what's really important is that, fish don't naturally make omega-3s. Okay, so if you're doing fish oil, know that that fish actually ate some plants to get their omega-3s. And you can get your omega-3s from plants too. And they're actually yummy plants. One of the first questions I always get is, well, what about protein? Well, there's an elephant and there's a gorilla, and they are whole food, plant-based eaters. and they don't have any problems making protein, and neither do you, when you're eating enough plants. And you don't have to eat an over amount either. And the reason that cute little baby is there is to help people realize that your most amount of growth is going to happen from 0 to year 1. Okay, the day you're born till you turn 1 year old. Most amount of growth, you're going to double in size. So we were looking at, okay, so if you're doing the most massive amount of growth, what is the percentage of protein you would need? Because that would be the most amount of percentage you were going to need ever in your life, pretty much. And we see that it's 10 to 15% of your total calories. So we actually now know also, because we've done more research, the number's just pretty much about right. About 10 to 15%, unless you unless you're pregnant, lactating, or you have there's some kind of disease if there's a disease state that is compromising your health. And these are all kinds of different plant foods. There's all kinds of them. In fact, every single plant has protein in it because it needs protein to grow. So protein is in everything. I have a whole other presentation I do about protein. But what I really want to talk about is fiber, because fiber is the stuff that your gut biome eats, okay? Fiber, the special type of fiber, is the smorgasbord buffet. I was just going to name something down in the South, but there's a couple different buffets down there, and that's what it loves. So fiber is a lot of things. It slows the sugar in your bloodstream so that your body can absorb it, and at a pace that makes sense for itself. It helps your body take into nutrients. Only plants have fiber. Only plants. And not absolutely correct, but a way to think about it is that we have bones, plants have fiber. And meat and dairy have no fiber. Fish have no fiber. Anything that stands on the ground, swims in the sea, or flies in the air has no fiber, but it has cholesterol. So here are some foods with fiber. This is there's a specific type of fiber that your gut biome loves just as much as most people here love chocolate. So, and to get that fiber, it comes from beans, peas, and lentils, whole grains, starchy vegetables, basically those type of foods. So you want to have those on a daily basis because it feeds that good gut bug, and it doesn't feed the nasty bacteria. And the nasty bacteria is what's going to give you colon cancer. So the next question is, how much do I need? That's always my question. It's like, how much do I need? And then how do I get it? You want to just be eating different plant foods every day. Just different types of plants. It's okay, whatever it is. Different types of plants. And you want them looking as much as they did when they came out of the ground. We know that you're going to be eating some stuff that's going to be heated. You're going to be eating lentil soup and stuff like that. But you really want to make sure that you're also having some raw foods with it. And your goal is 40 grams of fiber a day. If you've ever met someone who said they're on a paleo diet, an actual paleo diet is 100 grams of fiber a day. So if your friend on the paleo diet is eating lots and lots of protein food, there's no way they're going to get that. This is a study about colon cancer, which I just wanted to illustrate a little bit more on that whole fiber thing. Most people in the United States eat between 5 to 10 grams of fiber a day. And we know you want to get up to 40. Well, in this study, which was with a lot of people, showed that as you increased your fiber by 10 grams, okay, so let's say we're from 10 to 20, you decreased your risk for colon cancer by 10%. And if you went up another 10, so you added 20%, 20 grams of fiber to your diet, and you decreased, then the decrease of colorectal cancer was 20%. So it's pretty amazing that when you get up to 40 grams, you've cut your risk in half. This slide, I just want you guys to look at this later. You can see this is where you get the most nutrition bang for the buck, and you get the most nutrition from solid green leafy vegetables. I have mine every day because I come from a long line of people who had all kinds of diseases. And you're not going to get that much nutrient density. You're not going to get that many nutrients from full-fat dairy and red meat and eggs and all these things that are on the left-hand side of your screen. So the basic thing is eat a rainbow. You know, figure out what you like. If you really like blueberries, eat blueberries. You don't have to eat fruits or vegetables you don't like. I personally will not down okra. So, so that's not on my table, but zucchini is, and jalapenos are, and other green types of fruits and vegetables are. And you see all these different things you get. You don't get all of those when you're eating animal products. You will have to hunt and peck to make sure you get the ones that you need. And this is why I love being a dietitian, because I have to tell people to eat more food all the time. Because if you're eating more whole food plant-based, if you're eating more plants and you're decreasing oils, which come from animal products, and then just jars of oil, you're decreasing calories. You also decrease inflammation. And you increase the amount of nutrients, and you increase the diversity and the strength of your microbiota, which is really important. So what does it look like? Like, what am I going to eat? What do I eat tomorrow? Well, for breakfast, you can have oatmeal with berries and some kind of plant milk. I have that a lot because it's easy, it's fast, I don't think about it. You can have toast with nut butter and banana slices. You can have for lunch. I always have a big salad for lunch because I don't really care what I eat for lunch. I kind of automate my food, especially for lunch, because I'm generally working. So I have a big salad that I know I'm getting a whole bunch of nutrients in, and I don't think about it. I'm going to show you this chickpea, what it looks like. And on our website, you can find the chickpea salad. And lentil soups, the tuna sandwich is on our website. I am telling you, make that stuff. It goes so fast. We just had somebody who made it for the first time and they were like, oh, this makes a massive amount. So I'm just going to have a little bit for lunch. And then they liked it so much that they had the rest of it for dinner. So it's really yummy. And then dinner, baked potatoes with beans and salsa and brown rice and stir-fried vegetables. I'm trying to think, what did I have last night? I had some brown rice, I had sweet potatoes, and I had collard greens with mushrooms and onions. I mean, it's yummy. And then I made a sauce with cilantro on top. I made that like 3 days ago and we're still eating it. It's still good. And then we snack on fruit and nice cream. The last time I spoke, we made this nice cream. So, go find that video, and I bet you Cynthia will be really kind and send you the recipe if she can find it. This is what it looks like. It looks like yummy food. Like, I don't like to eat food that's terrible. That thing on the left, that's that tuna salad. It's so good. We serve it at every single event we have because people just love it. And you can have lentil soup, and here's a big salad. This is what dinner can look like. I mean, it's pretty and it's yummy, and there's a lot of foods you like. And if you don't like them, please don't eat them. It's okay. Here's some tips to get you started because, we know everybody's on their own little journey, so start small, okay? Make it easy on yourself. So pick a few meals in the week to start. A lot of times when we're doing research, we'll just say, hey, just do breakfast. Just try to do breakfast for a week. And pick just 1 or 2 recipes. Like that's it, tops. If you can only do 1 recipe in a week, great. It's okay. Take your time. It's okay. You will build up things that you like to do. And if you don't like to cook, there are lots of ways you can do this without cooking. If you have IBS, that's why I have this here, add 1 tablespoon of beans to a meal. If you're like, I don't know, beans make me do a silly thing, and they don't really agree with me, start with 1 tablespoon, okay? Just 1 tablespoon, put it with something, there you go. If you're having a grilled chicken salad, then put a tablespoon of garbanzo beans on, okay? Just something simple. You can add veggies to your omelets. You can have fruit a couple times. Please eat fruit. Buy foods in season. That tends to make them cheaper. If you want to do frozen, that's great. I always have a couple of different frozen things in my fridge so that I can make a really fast soup, or I can make a quick stir fry. I mean, I'll just take leftover rice or quinoa, whatever I happen to have, and I put that on top of it, and I stick it in the microwave, and I just heat it up in 2 minutes, and then I throw salsa on top. There you go, done. Use canned beans. It's okay. Just rinse them. You want to get all the gobbledygook that's on them. And don't overdo nuts. We love nuts, but you don't want to do too much. If you're looking for recipe sources, this is our website. We are adding recipes every single day. You can also find it at the T. Colin Campbell Center. You can go Forks Over Knives. I mean, these are 3 really good places to find different recipes, and they're generally easier, and we're actually going through and making them easier. Okay, now, this is what y'all been waiting for, I know. We're going to be making all right, so we're going to be making this nice, very rich, chocolatey dessert. If you can see everything. We make our own nut butter. My husband makes it, and we use raw almonds, cashews, raw peanuts, and walnuts in here. And then he might put some turmeric in just because he wants to make sure that we're having heart-healthy stuff. So you can see that's the, I'm going to stop sharing so you can see everything. And then I'm going to come back and I'll share again. Okay, so here we are. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is, I want to do this. No, I'm going, yeah, no, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to do this. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to turn these almonds into a little almond. We're going to chop them up. All right, so I'm going to turn off my audio while I turn this on because it doesn't blast your ears, okay? And we're going to do that just for like 10, 15 seconds.
Marty, go ahead and unmute yourself again. Oh, still muted.
Muted?
Oh, you're good now. There you go. Thanks.
Okay, good. That's that. It didn't have a little thing on it. So you see how this is? It's kind of like cornmeal. That's what it's kind of like. Okay. Now I'm going to put in cocoa powder and I'm going to put in some dates, which are super yummy. The one thing I really like about this is it's very rich. So it makes me feel like I'm really eating something that is decadent and really gooey. All right, and then I'm just going to be putting in this nut butter. And if you don't have almonds, don't worry about it. You can make it with pecans, cashews, whatever your little heart desires. And I'm going to tell you, if you can make pecan butter, it is so awesome. It is just incredibly awesome. The first time I made it, I thought, okay, I'm not sharing this thing with anybody. Y'all are done. This is just my dessert. Okay. Now I'm going to turn this off again. You see, this is it. This is all the stuff goes in there. And I'm going to show you how to make these nut balls. So there we go. Okay, they're basically done. Now you take this out and I think of it as clay. So you have this little bunch kind of clay. And if your dates are a little dry, then you may need to use a couple more dates, which is okay. Then you just put a couple more dates in. And that's it. You roll these and they just become a nice squish them together. Okay. My dates were a little bit dry, so I will put them in later, but I want to show you how to make this. And then you can roll it through coconut You can roll it through smoked chipotle if you got some people who really like smoky stuff and a little spicy. Also, you can add a little cinnamon to it, which will make it more little like Mexican chocolate. What else have I rolled it in? I've rolled it in espresso powder. So that's it. And these taste so yummy. I'm telling you, they're just easy. And a thing like this is probably going to make, you can make probably 15 to 20 of these little nut balls.
It looks like it muted again, Marty.
Okay. So you can make 15 of them and they last. If you put them in the fridge, they will last. They'll last up to about a week, 2 weeks. So it's not like if you make them, you have to eat everything tomorrow. Sometimes you have to make, when you make raw stuff, it'll be like that. So let's answer I'm going to just do a couple more slides here. I just want you to know your body is all connected. Your body is really smart. And what you eat for this will help with this and that and that. So you can do this and feel like that. So, does anybody have any questions?
Thank you so much, Marty. I always love your food demonstrations. And I will make sure that we include the nice cream recipe in the follow-up email. So this is your opportunity to ask Marty any questions you may have. So go ahead and just start entering those in the Q&A. I will sort through these questions and get as many of them answered as we can. Um, just a reminder, if they are medical questions, I will take those and try and find some answers to those. Right now, if you've got dietary questions or questions about whole food, plant-based diets, make sure we get those in there. Um, just a plug because Marty did mention it. After our last webinar, did download their app and I sorted through some of the recipes. And I have to say, they've got a lot of great recipes on their app and then on their website as well. I have not yet tried the chickpea salad, but it does look delicious. It looks really good.
Yeah, and I have a slide. I wanted you to give a little shout out for a couple of things. One is if you want to take the next step, you can sign up. We have a lot of different virtual events. We're going to be having a jump start. If you're like, well, I'd kind of like to go more plant-based, but I'm not sure how to do it, that's cool. We have a whole program for that. And this is one of the other things, which I thought was really cool, which I shared with Cynthia. So I look up this lit review, right? And I'm like looking and I'm like, oh, this is so interesting, really cool. Okay, are these really good, are they getting really good studies? And so I'm looking at it and then I realize the name of one of the researchers. And I happened to meet the researcher this summer at a conference, and it's Dr. Shah. And then I wrote to Dr. Shah and I said, hey, I'm doing this thing, HealthTree, just saw your stuff, blah, blah, blah. And she has some clinical trials coming up, and y'all are my family now, okay? Whether you like it or not, y'all are my family. And uh, I would definitely have people join a study because a lot of times people are a little like, well, I don't really want to do this. Well, not only you may be able to help yourself, which is great, but the other thing is that having done research for a number of years, I think this is my 20th year in research, and you can help somebody else you will never meet, but your data, no matter what happens, is important to somebody that you will never meet. So I would really strongly suggest if you can get into one of Dr. Shah's studies, please do. Okay, that's my commercial.
Thank you so much. And thank you for mentioning Dr. Shah's research. It was one of our off-camera discussions was talking about Dr. Shah's nutrivention studies. I did put a link to her Nutrivention 2 study, which is a study that HealthTree is partnering with her on. This is specifically for MGUS and smoldering patients, but it is in the chat. I'll also include it in the follow-up email if you are interested in participating in that. Again, before we started, we talked about how dates are getting the glow up that cauliflower had a few years ago. So dates, it feels like every time I turn around, there's a great date recipe. But our first question kind of goes into that same vein. Stella's just wondering if you can substitute raisins for dates in this on these recipes.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so glad you did that. Yeah. Okay. So actually, sometimes like I don't have all the ingredients. So this is how I know that pecan butter works and pecans work and cashews work. Yeah. You just want to make sure that the raisins are kind of plumped. And if your raisins are a little, a little on the dry side, then just put them in some, warm water and then just drain them and they will plump up. They'll plump up a little bit. I've made this with um dried cranberries. I mean, it's kind of like what's left in the pantry. That's a dried fruit. So I haven't made it with apricots, but there are also recipes use that use cranberries and cashews, lime juice, lime zest. That's one of my favorite ones because it's just a whole different other flavor, and you put coconut with it. It's just very different, but super yummy. Again, really makes you feel like you're eating dessert, that's the important part.
I love it. Thank you so much. Thanks for those added tips as well. I've got a question just asking about how much plant protein should a person eat each day?
About 10 to 15% of everything you eat. So what does that look like? Well, it depends on how much you need, but I don't like people getting in the weeds about it. But you want to have about a cup to a cup and a half of beans, peas, or lentils every day. And then if you're going to get everything that you're eating is giving you a little bit of protein. So you're going to get, 2 grams of protein out of 4 cups of romaine lettuce. So, so you want to have about a, cup and a half of beans because you want to make sure that you're getting your gut biome taken care of. And then, have a cup of some whole grains, and then if you're going to have a starchy vegetable with it, because you need stuff to eat, right? I mean, if you're not going to live on the bean, not going to eat on the broccoli brown rice diet. Um, so you want to just, have a starchy vegetable, whatever that is, and you're going to have that, and that's going to be yummy. And just make sure that you're not hungry. One of the things that's important is if you can, leave 4 hours in between meals, which means you may need to eat more food because your as your calories go down, let's say you need 2,000 calories a day, you still need 2,000 calories. So that may mean you need to eat a little bit more food. Okay. Which is great because then you eat, all kinds of lettuces and all kinds of other stuff. And, so that's the good part.
I love it. Thank you so much. I was going to kind of bring it back just a little bit because you mentioned the dietary fiber as well, with the goal being 40 grams per day.
Mhm.
With that, it just reminded me of, again, with Dr. Ivy Shaw, we did a webinar and she was mentioning, um, again, to diversify the gut microbiome, if you look at 30 to 40 grams of fiber a day and a goal of 30 different fruits and vegetables a week, that's a great way. Which I am a numbers person and I think it's nice, to be able to hear those numbers. So I'm proud to say I've been able to do it once. So if you guys are looking for a challenge out there, give that a try and see how many different fruits and veggies you're able to get in a week. So,
Yeah. And depending on where you are, there are really like, try the weird ones. I'm having watermelon radishes this week.
oh,
So
those sound delicious. That's
yeah,
amazing.
and they were so pretty. It's like, oh, I love this. So yeah.
I love that. Thank you. Got a question just about one of the recipes that were up on the screen. It just says, is the tuna made with tempeh? Um, it says, I
Oh,
belong to PPMNY, but I've never seen it.
okay. It's made out of chickpeas. And if you have seen a lot of our chefs, it's Brandy Cochran's recipe. And it's very yummy. Yeah, it's basically chickpeas and onions, a little bit of seaweed to give it that little bit of tunny type of flavor. And also that's great because it gives you the iodine that you need. And yeah, and then she makes a mayo. So, I mean, if you want, if you're like, hey, I'm not going to do that, but I'd eat it if I could just throw in my mayo, then do that. Take the next step. Don't make it crazy for yourself.
I love it. Thank you. And I feel like the whole theme that we've had throughout this webinar is just, take it one day at a time, do what you can with today, eat as much raw fruits and vegetables as you can, but, live life as well. So that's perfect.
Yeah,
We've got
absolutely.
it. Sorry, I have just a question about what is considered a healthy weight. I know there's a lot of different data out there around BMI and different things like that. Can you speak to
Yeah.
that a little bit, Marty?
Yeah. First of all, there's the body mass index. We have a couple, which I'm really glad they did. They came out with a couple of different numbers depending on who people were. So we know that people that are from an African descent, like the numbers we were using were overweight is at 25. Okay, the BMI at 25. So, and a healthy BMI is anywhere from 19 to 24.9. But African Americans, actually, we found that they didn't have biomarkers shift, which is kind of what we're looking at. 25, the biomarkers start to shift until about 26.5, 26.9. But we found for Southeast Asians that it was not 19, but 18 to 23, just because there's a little bit of difference in physiology. So that's basically what you're looking for. And I don't really get, I don't tell people, oh my God, you're, in crisis, until I see a biomarker move, because then your body is reacting to what's going on. So that's what we're looking for, is like, okay, like I have three sisters, and my one sister, if she weighed what I weigh, she'd feel like she's being blown away in the wind. But so she is really at the end, that higher end of a BMI. I am towards the 20.5, because that's where I feel like I can do everything. So that's why we make it a range. It's not just like this number. And if you're not this number, forget about it. But that's where it's coming from. It's like we see the risk begin to go up when you hit this point.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Got just a question about any favorite cookbooks that you've seen out there, any resources that way.
Yeah. I'll show you a couple. Uh, Yep. Okay. So I like this one for holidays, because you're making what's called seitan. You make that with vital wheat gluten. Best recipes are in here. Being a dessert, Fran Costigan. Okay. Nobody does it better than Fran Costigan. I also have her book called Vegan Chocolate. The gelato in there, awesome sauce. Okay. On the everyday, as you can see, my husband and I have used this for a few years. I really like Robin Robertson. This is a good basic recipe book. Like, there's just lots of things in there you can use. And for those of you who are like, yeah, I can cook. Okay, this is really lovely, because if you don't know how all these flavors go together, it's really wonderful. You just look it up. Like, I just looked up cilantro, because I was thinking, how am I going to make this sauce? And it just says, oh, cilantro. These are all the different flavors that go with cilantro. And this is and it's wonderful. I just really like the idea that here's a bunch of information. You use how you cook. I also use the joy of cooking all the time, and I just swap things out.
I love that. Thank you. It's always good to have a good resource of where to find good recipes and use the things that you already have in your cupboard. So that's perfect.
Mhm.
Um, got a question just asking about pea-based protein powder. What are your thoughts
Uh,
on pea-based protein powder?
I think okay, so I like people just eating their basic stuff that you need. But if you are in some kind of compromised position in life, have a number of people who come to me who are having dental issues. Okay. So they'll be like, oh, I'm going to have this dental work done. I'm not going to actually be able to eat for a couple of weeks. What should I do? I'm not a big smoothie person, but I think if you are losing weight quickly, like quicker than would be healthy for you, or you're having trouble getting enough calories in because either you don't feel like eating it all or whatever that is, then I think pea powder can be really great. Uh, and that's kind of how I use it. It's like, okay, well, this person needs something more. We got to get these calories in, and this is a good way to get a bunch of calories and a bunch of protein, because especially if you're rebuilding a lot of tissue or you're rebuilding something in your body, you need a little bit more protein. And to me, that's kind of an easy thing to do, but that's how I use it.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Just a question about having an upset stomach due to medications, and just wondering if there's any evidence that a plant-based diet could help mitigate those negative side effects. This person's experiencing cramps, diarrhea, other upset stomach issues. Are there things that you could think of to recommend there?
Well, um, a lot of that is medication and gut biome related, like how good is your gut biome to begin with. So there's that. And but I'll tell you my go-to for any kind of diarrhea, upset stomach, whatever, is throat coat tea. You can buy it at CVS. You can buy it in just about every store. Um, that has it has a herb called marshmallow in it, and it's not bad tasting. My son used to take it when he was little, and he had a tummy ache or something. Um, and I find that for pregnant moms, like they will live on that stuff, because it calms the stomach, but it also, I found it goes all the way from your mouth to the other end, helping everything kind of be normal. So that's my one thing that I tend to have people go to. Otherwise, I'm not sure what's happening with your gut biome. So you may want to think about, okay, I'm going to take it easy. And, I could see if somebody can't keep something down, then you might want to go to a protein, some kind of like pea protein or something else. Also, just make sure that you're getting a lot of electrolytes. Like don't lose out on your, take Pediasure or whatever that is to make sure that you're getting enough electrolytes, especially if you're having diarrhea for 24 hours.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. We're going to ask just one last question because I've got a couple that have asked about water. So, often water is something that is hard for people to increase. They don't like the taste of it. Do you have other suggestions for things that people can do to water or
Yeah.
substitute for water?
Yeah. A really fancy schmancy spot. And we would put you can take I don't have it out. You can take a quart jar or 2 quarts, and you can put um oranges, you can put cucumber and mint in it. Cucumber and mint's great. People always drink that. You can do strawberries and mint. You can do, there's if you look online, I found this, if I find it, I'll send it to you, Cynthia. It's like, 50 different ways you're gonna have water. So, if you're just like, hey, it's just water, then put some flavoring in it, and that's okay, and those don't put in lemon. If you're kind of like, I've done lemon for the last like 3 months, that's okay. Well, then put something else in it. You can put grapefruit, you can put oranges, you can put all kinds of different flavors, lighter flavors that'll give it some kind of it's more than just water. But I'll see if I can find that handout and I'll send it to you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Marty. We've got more questions in here. I'm going to go through after and see if we can find some more answers. As always, thank you so much for your time, Marty.
Yeah.
And thank you for sharing the wonderful recipes. And I will, with that, just close out today.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for hosting me. And we're here at Plant Powered. If you have any other questions, you can always find us.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And I will put the link to the Jumpstart program that Marty mentioned in the follow-up email as well. So thanks again, Marty.
Great. Bye, everybody.
Bye. All right. I do want to just address a couple of the questions that came in during the last end of the Q&A. So um, there was a question about updates on the Nutrivention trial. I will make sure we get those out. I'm also going to ask Marty for links for the different cookbooks she recommended. And I'll just get through here and get as many of these other questions you had answered as best as I can. So thank you guys so much for joining. As we close out today, I just want to remind everybody about some upcoming events that we have. So this Thursday, October 16th, our Hispanic Myeloma Health Group will have the opportunity to hear from fellow myeloma patient and coach Susanna as she talks through her experience with a stem cell transplant. Please note this one is for our Spanish speakers. This Saturday, October 18th, you'll have the opportunity, if you're in Alabama in the Birmingham area, to join us at East 59 Cafe for a discussion with Dr. Costa. If you have some questions but are not able to attend in person, there is an opportunity to register virtually as well. And then just over a week from today, we have Dr. Michael Bishop, who is going to talk to a cross disease webinar about protecting yourself during high risk seasons. So this will be for all of our blood cancer patients. So if you have anybody in your life that doesn't have myeloma but has another blood cancer, please make sure that they know of this upcoming event and have them register. I'll have all of these and many more in our follow-up email. And then wanted to highlight our Connect to Cures program. We did just have our Brooklyn event last weekend. We also have Grand Rapids, Spokane, and also Las Vegas. Grand Rapids and Las Vegas will be on November 15th, Spokane, November 22nd. If you're in the area, we'd love to see you. It gives you the opportunity to meet with other patients, connect with doctors, and other resources within your community. I'd like to again thank our sponsors, Adaptive, Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, Amgen, and GSK. And lastly, I've got my email there on the screen. If I wasn't able to get to your questions and you want to reach out personally, please don't feel like you can't reach out. I'm happy to talk to you. Email me, and I hope to see you all again at another webinar soon.